This podcast contains paid advertisements, but more on that later. Welcome to the O'Connor Bootstrap podcast, where I discuss how you can grow your business by the bootstraps. This applies to everyone with an entrepreneurial spirit. That includes bootstrappers just starting out, established business owners, and business leaders. My goal is to help you grow both personally and professionally. I'm your host, Isaiah O'Connor. Today's podcast is sponsored by Audible. Audible.com, the world's largest repository of audiobooks and other spoken audible content or audio content. So today's book recommendation is EntreLeadership by Dave Ramsey. It's an amazing book about being a leader, about starting a business, running a business. It's one of the best out there, as it's very real. It's not this highbrow looking down at you, oh, look at me, I'm an CEO of a great company or anything like that. It's a very real example of how he took his business from a card table to a business of over 500 employees, step by step, the struggles, the failures, the successes. It's very inspiring and very practical book to apply. And as today I'm talking about leadership, it's very appropriate to this subject. And of course, like always, you can get a free copy of this book if you go to audible.com/bootstrap with a capital B and set up your free 30-day trial of Audible. To get the book for free, you have to do the one that's $14.95 a month. You get 1 credit for 1 book and 2 Audible originals that you keep forever. Plus, you get to listen to all the books in the Audible listening library for the entire time you are subscribed. There is no contract. You can quit at any time, but you won't want to. I know I never do. So go check it out, audible.com/capital B bootstrap for your free trial. That helps us out as well. Now, let's get into this. Now, this is part of the leadership series. And here's one of the struggles of a leader. You've got a couple of different types of leaders. You have the super bossy, I'm the guy in charge, my way and the highway, get moving type of guy. And then you've got the complete polar opposite of, hey, I'm a nice guy, I'm everybody's friend, hey, I'm friendly, approachable, let's go hang out type of guys who are in leadership. Neither of these are actually really good to have as a leader. The jerk boss is pretty obvious. The boss who's a complete jerk might even get things done, might even be able to command the ship and get you going in the right direction. However, they're a jerk. You don't want to work with them. You want to be loyal to them because they're a jerk. They're mean. Even ones that are not jerks, they can still be a little bit harsh and come down and give you the boot really quickly if you snap out of line, and the more strict, more harsh. And that's obvious. You don't really like to have a boss that's super strict and mean and cruel, obviously. But on the flip side, you would think a nice boss would be a better leader. And that would also be incorrect. Now, why is that? Because a leader needs to actually be leading, someone you can follow in a direction. And oftentimes, a nice guy doesn't lead. They are busy making friends with their employees, which is great. You can be friendly with your employees. Please do. And I have employees that I am still friends with. That's fine. However, in order to be a leader, there are times when you need to step up. You need to lead, you need to set a firm direction, and you need to provide support for your employees. And I've seen this failure in a couple different ways, and I've got a couple of examples here. First example is, again, when I worked at the casino, we had a boss that was the not that great the accountant turned into the CEO, or not the CEO, the manager, top manager of the casino. And he was a jerk. No one liked him. And as soon as he got fired, everyone was celebrating. That was obviously a bad leader. But then, actually, the guy they brought in to replace him was actually one of two general managers they had as the top guys. And this guy was too far the other way. He was a very nice guy. Don't get me wrong. He was a very nice guy. But he wasn't great at bringing a direction and leadership to the company. He would walk in to the management meetings with all the department heads and go, "Hey guys, I'm not going to shake your hands. We're not going to say hi. Give me a fist bump and shake it loose." And do the, hang loose sign with his hand. And he did stop with the fist bump thing, though, with the managers, because one of the managers was not very pleased with this. And it was a lady with a rather large wedding ring, engagement ring, with a rather large rock. And so when they did a fist bump, she fist bumped him with her wedding band or wedding ring, and he stopped doing fist bumps with her. But that's the thing, is if you're too much of a friend, you don't have any respect. And if you're too much of a jerk, you don't have any respect. And you need to strike a proper balance with that. Because if you come in and you're the life of the party, yeah, you might even be able to build a good team, but it will backfire. I heard that one of the guys who started Uber, one of the main guys, if not the main guy, I can't remember, it's been a while, was like this. He was a fun-loving, happy-go-lucky guy. He started this. He did create something new and built a great company. However, he was such a wild child, party animal, who was completely friendly. He got too friendly with the help, for one, too friendly with the woman, and he was eventually removed because of his wild antics, because he was too much of a friendly guy, in that sense of being a party animal. Now, you can also be too friendly without being a wild party animal, saying hang loose and fist bumping. And that's the guy who just wants to be one of the guys, and I'm not really, in charge of you. I respect you. You guys do the job, and that's great. And I had a guy who said this to me, first at a job, "Hey, there is no hierarchy here. We're all equal." That's not a great start as a leader. And the guy, still know the guy, great guy, really, really nice guy, really friendly, just a really nice guy overall. And the problem with that type of leader is, because they're so nice, when they aren't there for you, when they make a mistake, you feel bad about being upset that they did something wrong. It's one of those things where even if they make a mistake, you really don't want to call them out on it, but then you really do need to, because they're hurting the team, they're hurting the morale. And part of the problem was he didn't give firm instructions. He didn't say, you need to do this exactly like this, otherwise we can get in trouble. He wasn't very clear. He didn't step up and ask questions. For example, well, I'm looking at the numbers here, and you've overproduced by this much. If we overproduce too much, the client will not be happy. Or you've underproduced by this much, and if you don't fix it, the client will be happy. We were in charge of putting things out there, and they didn't give us exact amounts to produce. They gave us some instructions. They said, when you're doing this, you need to take a measurement. And you probably should take one every day, or two measurements every day. You probably should. It's nice, and you should have about this amount every day. You have to stop and measure every so often to make sure you do this amount. But they couched it in a suggestion a friendly suggestion that this was a good idea and this could help you and this will make sure that the job gets done right. But they were not very concrete with their instructions. It was well, you probably should, but it will help. But because they didn't do that, me and my team, we overproduced for 3 days. We went beyond the set amount for the area we were working at. And when we went there, they found out that the client would not pay for the work we did that we overdid. So we had to take 3 days, undo what we did, and then take 3 days and start over on the next place we went and start doing that again and we didn't get paid for that because we had already been paid once for things we produced the first time. And so we weren't going to get paid twice for it. So we went for basically a week without pay, working the entire time, because while we did make a mistake, it was our fault. We did too much. That's fine. He didn't stop as a leader and go, hey, guys, what are you doing? Hey, guys, when they were training, you need to do this at least this much a day. You need to measure this many times a day. You need to verify. You need to check each other's work. If you do this, you'll be better. He didn't give us anything concrete. He didn't say, if you don't do this, then after there was nothing there to help guide us in the right direction because he was out there trying to be a friendly guy and no one's in charge, really. We're just all working together towards a goal, which was all nice and good and really nice guy. But with his nice guy attitude, without giving direct instructions, then we were unable to properly do our job, and it cost us a week where we were working for free without pay, which really sucked. And yeah, we were upset about it, but then we felt bad about being upset because he's a really nice guy, and we understood that he couldn't pay us twice for the job we already did. It was rough. It was rough for everyone involved. And we did work it out. We just dealt with it and worked it out. That's fine. But that's what I mean. If you're not leading everyone, you're not stepping up and going, hey, of course you're off base. Let me redirect you on course. Let me make sure you have the tools up front, what to do up front. Then while you're trying to be a nice guy, you're actually going to set up your people for failure. Another example was a military commander. I can't remember what the battle was, but there were several times in the battle where the commanding officer was so much trying to be a nice guy, he never gave an order. Well, he did kind of sort of give orders, but the orders were phrased as a offer. For example, would you like reinforcements? Would you like to go take that hill? Would you like us to provide fire support for you? If you would really like, we can send some extra ammo. And of course, the commanders on the field would do, he said if we'd like to, no, I don't think I need that. Okay, no problem. And because he didn't give it as an order, there were several times when there was an opportune moment to change the tide of battle by sending in reinforcements. And if he had just said, hey, you're taking reinforcements, they're coming, get ready, they would have won the battle. Or, hey, that hill over there, take it and hold it at all cost. They would have won the battle. But he didn't do that. He did it in, would you like to do this? If you don't mind, could you please take that hill over there? Again, being a nice guy, while not being a leader, cost the battle. And I can't remember what battle it was, but this battle was on the course entitled the World's Greatest Military Blunders. This is a military blunder that winds up on a course of military blunders, of the greatest military blunders in history, because he was too nice to give a direct command and a direct order. And there's where the balance is. When you're in leadership and you're a leader, there are times when you will need to give directions and give commands and make sure it's very clear what you need to be done. And that's not being mean. That is actually being kind. And I think that's where the core fix to this issue is when you realize that by being a leader, by giving direction, by correcting people when they're doing something wrong, when they're not doing things right, by giving them clear directions when clear directions are needed, then you're actually being kinder. That guy I told you about, we worked for about a week without pay. He didn't mean to be mean like that, but that's not very nice. That was not very nice for us. He was trying to be nice, but it backfired. So if he had realized, if I am a bit more assertive, if I am a bit more of a leader, it is being nicer, because that means my employees will make more money, means my employees will do their job right, which will make them have less stress and less headaches, then I can be more firm. I can give better directions. I can be firm like that. And he did get better as time went on, by the way. He did. But that's where that stepping away from just being a friend and being a leader is what counts. And we see this in everyday life, of course, as well. You see the parents that do this. The parents are trying to be the buddy-buddy with their kids, and their kid is a complete spoiled brat, driving them crazy and everyone else around them crazy because they're trying to be friendly with their spoiled brat kid. That's not what we need. You need to have a parent that loves their kid, is friends with their kid, but can tell their kid, no, you're not eating ice cream after dinner, and I don't care if you throw a fit in the superstore. And put them in timeout or whatever needs to be done to make sure that that kid learns to be a good adult. The most loving thing to do with a kid sometimes is to give them a consequence, like a timeout, because they didn't listen and they ran to the street because it's dangerous. You love the kid, you want them to learn, not to run in the street. You care about your employees, you want them to learn to be better employees so they can be more efficient, so they can maybe get a raise, make more money, be happy, be whatever. You have to set boundaries, you have to set things up, and you have to care for them. And that comes into another thing of setting boundaries. Again, that could be probably another podcast. You do need to set firm boundaries. You need to set clear goals, key result areas, KRIs, I think they're called, where if you hire a person and they're a person whose job is to clean the bathrooms, then you should have a standard to which the bathrooms will be cleaned. If they're a receptionist, then there'll be clear goals of how to be a receptionist, like smiling when you answer the phone because you can hear it in the voice, or not letting the phone ring more than twice. Set concrete things that can set measurements so that they know what they're doing. Set this up front, because again, being friendly means directing and guiding and helping your employees grow and finding their value and drawing their value out of them, because that's the most friendly thing to do. Sometimes you might have to write somebody up. Sometimes you might have to fire somebody, but you have to be willing to do that. That's what makes a great leader, is to make sure, back to that whole bus thing, good to great, the right people are on the bus, the right people are in the right seats on the bus, and get the wrong people off the bus. And sometimes you'll have the right person and they're having a hard time, and you need to step up as a leader and give them a little bit of a kick in the butt to get them going on the right track, and then you'll be surprised about how well they'll do. You have to really encourage your employees, step up and be a leader. be firm when needed. And that's the thing. You got to strike a balance. You can't be completely buddy-buddy, but you can't be a complete jerk either. You have to find that balance. And again, like I said, the core, I think, is to realize the kindest thing to do in this situation is to correct them, is to give them clear goals, is to say, hey, you're a little bit off your lane here. Hey, I'm looking at these numbers. They're too low. They're too high. We need to help you fix this because you're good at it, etc. That's actually being kind. That's actually being friendly. And if you look at correction as doing a kindness, you're doing it because you care about them, just like a parent disciplines their kid, puts them in timeout, takes away their ice cream, whatever. They're doing it out of love, not out of hate, not out of being mean. It's because they care about their kid. And if you look at your employees, not like your kids, you don't want to treat them like their parent, although sometimes your employees will act like children and you will have to parent them. Yes, I've seen that happen, of course. But you want that mentality of, I'm the leader, we're going this direction, and I'm going to just guide these people back on path and make sure they're there. And you can be friendly, and you can even be friends with them to a certain level, but you're still the guy in charge. You keep that line of, I'm still the guy in charge. Just like with kids. You're friendly with your kids, you love your kids, you play with your kids, but then when it's bedtime, it's bedtime. As you can tell, I have small children that I am working on training up into men as we speak. And sometimes this is much easier said than done with them. Just like employees, it's not always easy to do this. But that's the goal. The goal is to strike the balance between super friendly and super firm. And you need to lead. You need to make sure that you're the leader. They can come to you and trust you to know which direction they're going. That they come to you for help. That they know that you've got their back when you notice something's off. That they're helping you. And if you do it correctly, if you provide guidance, get them back on course in a friendly, kind way, where they don't feel like they're made out to be some sort of bad guy or just a horrible person, where you make it about something they're doing wrong, not about them being a bad person, then you're good. Back to, I think it was the last podcast about correction and correcting employees. But you have to be willing to correct and willing to set a hierarchy, willing to say, hey, I'm a nice guy, but I am the boss. And we're going to do it this way. And you don't even have to say it like that. Probably don't say it like that. I'm a nice guy, but I'm the boss. Don't say it like that. It comes across as bossy. But saying, now, when we do this, we're going to need to do this and this and this. And when we do this and this and this, these are the requirements. Here, 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 here. And in your position, you need to do these things. And you need to do these things, and we'll track them this way. So you're asserting your authority by lining out the boundaries, setting up the goals, setting up the markers, the milestones, setting it up so people know where they are, and they will do better. And you can do that, be friendly, but by doing that and setting those boundaries, you'll also be letting them know you're the guy in charge. You're the boss, and you are the leader, and you're going to lead them. But they won't feel like you're coming across bossy, because all you're doing is saying, here's how we're going to track your progress. Here's what you need to do. Here's some concrete things you need to do to make sure your job gets done correctly. And you can do this without being mean, without being a jerk, and yet still provide leadership and structure, because you step up to that and provide leadership and structure. And the best leaders I've had have all done this. They've struck that balance of somebody that you could approach and talk to and go to for help, and they were friendly. But if you were out of line, they could snap you back into line with a loving, caring heart behind it, so that you don't feel that you did something really evil or wrong, but you need to fix something. and get better. And that's the best way to do it. And that breeds loyalty, breeds trust, and makes people feel like they can respect you. Because you need your employees to respect you. The people working under you, if you're in a team, to respect you. And people don't respect nice guys that are friendly with everyone, nor do they respect jerks. So you gotta find that balance. Anyway, just remember, if you treat people with the value they have, if you realize that being a leader in correction is valuing your employees, is a kind thing to do, then you'll be able to strike that balance a lot easier. Anyway, see you Monday. Bye-bye. If you found value in this content, please leave a comment and give us a 5-star rating on whichever podcast platform you use. We're on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google, and most other podcast platforms. If you would like to support us, you can check out our sponsor links, or if you'd like to support us directly, you can donate or join our membership program at buymeacoffee.com/bootstrap. Of course, it really helps when you share these podcasts with your friends as well. If you'd like to interact with me and other bootstrappers and leaders, you can join us over at our O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast Facebook group. You have been listening to the O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast, an Atheoz Business Solutions podcast. For a companion podcast, the Atheoz Business Podcast, which is hosted by Jason St. Clair, past episodes and related blogs, please check out our website at www.atheoz.com, which is at www.atheoz.com or theoz.com. Until next time, I have been your friendly neighborhood entrepreneur, Isaiah O'Connor.